Look, if you're anything like me and you want to achieve as much as possible in your life, whether that's just your relationships, business, whatever the case may be, I am going to share 3 things that you must accept about your life if you are going to grow. Now, I am nowhere near where I want to be, but I've definitely come further than I've been, especially if I look back 10 years ago, and I actually just had my birthday. I just turned 34, and I have to say that if I compare 24 to 34, so much has happened I can't even tell you. So I could tell you, and maybe I will in some other video, but this video in particular is going to be about 3 things that you must accept if you are someone who is growth hungry and you are trying to strive to be a better version of yourself or make more money or basically anything you could possibly want to do in life. And what is life except for trying to do more cool shit? So jump into this whiteboard here and I can tell you what they are. So there's a lot of them, but I'm just going to focus on 3. So let's look at the first one here. The first one is regret. Now, you're going to regret shit. There's going to be things that you do in life that you will not be able to undo. That doesn't mean that there won't be positive and negative consequences to all the things, but there's going to be things, obviously we all know, that you will look back and be like, why did I do that? Why did I do that? Why did I say that? Why did I act this way? Why did I buy that thing? Why did I not do it this way when I could have done it that way? This list will go on and on and on and on. If you are focused on what you didn't do or you feel that feeling of the regret, it'll obviously continue to haunt you, eat at you. It will continue to hold you back from where you ultimately want to go. And I have a number of things like this in my life. I was literally just thinking about it the other day, and that's even how I thought about this video. I was thinking about a time when someone asked me to hang out with them, and I had made a plan, and then instead of going to the plan, I basically just didn't show up. This was years and years ago, and I would not do that now, but I did it at the time because I was going through a lot of stuff, and they were calling me and texting me like, are you going to come? And I just never showed up, and I do regret it. It was a dick move to do, but I felt like I had reasons at the time, and I think I've apologized. I'm pretty sure I've apologized to them. But anyway, that's just one example in a whole stream of examples, because what ends up happening is as you go through life, you change. If you're trying to grow, you're going to change, which means that the behaviors that you exhibit today aren't necessarily the ones that you exhibited then. And when you look back at some of those actions, you end up thinking, why did I do that? Well, because you were a different person. And that's going to continue to happen. Now, the reason, because the stuff I might do today, I might not do in 10 years. The reason that this is really important to understand when you're growing is because you can't end up looking back at that as regret. Like when I think of that story, I just have to accept that that's what happened. I have to accept that I did that, no matter how much they may be like, oh, Lucas is an asshole or something. They might still think that. Honestly, I have no idea. But my point being is that I need to let it go. I need to forgive myself for those things, because if you're holding on to that stuff, it makes it really challenging to move forward. It makes it really challenging to feel good about yourself in the moment when we're hanging on to what we could have done differently. So what's important here is to accept that you will always have things that you think you could have done differently. Which brings me to my next point here. Super crucial if you want to grow more in life, and just things that we need to accept, is 2 key words that they're really sentences, that will save you years of strife and grief and problems. The first one is, I'm sorry. And the second one is, you're right. Get really good at saying those things. Now, I like to think of myself as someone who is right pretty often and isn't mean to people and doesn't do things without considering other people's feelings. Like, I've definitely become that person over the last 10 years. But I still have to say I'm sorry sometimes, and I still have to tell people that they're right. Now, this can be very challenging. It can be very challenging, and I've struggled with it because there's this tendency to always want to defend ourselves, even if we don't think we're fully right. The idea of saying sorry to someone can be so painful that you don't want to do it because in your brain you think, if I apologize to this person, it means that my feelings aren't valid. It means that I don't matter. It means that somehow I'm wrong, and being wrong is the worst thing in the world or something, which is kind of how we're raised. So the reason why I'm sorry and you're right is so important, even if you don't think you did anything wrong, even if you still think you're right, and even if any of those things, you have to say it, because nothing is worse than continuing to be in a conversation or some sort of situation, especially if someone is telling you something or they're giving you some feedback or they're clearly not letting go of what they feel like they need to hold on to quote unquote be right. You need to say, you're right. Cool, yeah, you're right. The more you practice it, the easier it gets. Just being like, yeah, you know what, honestly, I'm sorry, you're totally right. That's like saved me years and years and years of problems. And of course, like sometimes I always mean it. But the point is that I know that just because I tell someone I'm sorry or I tell someone that they're right, it doesn't make me less right. You know? Okay, so number 3, and this one is very, very important. Basically, we have all these beliefs that hide in our heads. And it's really annoying because they're underneath everything. They are dictating the things that you say and do. For instance, why you don't say sorry to people all the time, or why it's hard to tell people that they're right. The beliefs under that dictate that. And the reason that this is really important is because if you're trying to grow or you're trying to reach the next level in your life, in your business, whatever the case may be, you need to understand that there are these hidden beliefs underneath our thoughts, underneath our emotions. A lot of the time we change our thoughts, which is really good. You must change your thoughts because your thoughts affect your emotions. But what makes your thoughts? Well, your beliefs. Your beliefs shape your perceptions. They shape every single thing that you do. Now, you can't go around doing figuring out every single little element of what belief made me walk to the store after this, or what belief made me cook the dinner I'm about to cook. Obviously, I mean, unless you want to change those things. But if there are things in your life that you're doing that you don't want to be doing anymore, ask yourself, what beliefs are making me feel this way? And better yet, anytime you feel anything inside that someone else says or that someone else does, whether you feel good about it or bad about it, it's crucial to be like, why do I feel that way? What belief is making me feel that way? Because that will tell you a lot about yourself, and it'll also tell you where you need to change. Reading something a few months ago that said, if you change your thoughts, you'll change hundreds of emotions. But if you change your beliefs, you will change thousands of thoughts and emotions, potentially millions. Right? So you have to go to the root situation, go to the root of it, which is these underlying beliefs. Now, there are beliefs that we all share as human beings, or almost all of us share. For instance, like, you need food to live. Now, that may be scientific fact, but it's also just a very, very deep-seated belief. Or, for instance, you need meat to live. Like, I'm not a vegan or anything, but I think that I believe that I need meat to eat the way I want to eat. I believe that, which is why I'm not a vegan. Vegans would have a completely different belief system. They would say, I don't need meat, and in fact, meat is not good for my diet, or whatever, right? So just things like that. Or another huge human belief that we have is that death is bad, right? We have death is bad, or it's sad. And of course it is sad because we miss the people. But again, it is ultimately at deep at its core, it's a belief system that we've all agreed to share based on collective opinion, because we don't know shit about death. Actually, we don't know what happens. It could be the best thing that's ever happened. It could, but obviously you can't say that to people because it would go against the deep-seated belief systems, right? So those are big beliefs. And then there's ones that you have based on your friends, family, your upbringing, TV shows that you watch, culture, where you're raised in the world, how old you are, all of these things shape how we feel. And so the reason why this is the third and very crucial thing to accept about life is that you're always going to have beliefs. There is no getting outside of a belief system. So the only thing you can do is change the beliefs you have about something specific. So if you want to, for instance, grow your company, you not only have to believe that it's possible, but you have to believe in the ways that you're doing it in order to do it in a successful way, if that makes sense. If you want to get into a better relationship, you have to believe that you can get into a better relationship. You have to, one of the big ones with me that took me from just like randomly dating to like meeting my fiance, we're going to get married, is I had this belief that like I wanted a partner that gave me XYZ qualities, but then when I actually met the person I'm engaged to, they were different qualities, and I had to shift those belief systems up to be like, oh, actually, it's really this stuff that I want, not the other stuff, if that makes sense. So that would be my last thing here, is just be aware of the beliefs. And I even wrote down like 4 or 5 beliefs actually that I want to change throughout the course of my entire life. So just going through all these just quickly again: regret, forgive yourself, and recognize that there'll always be some element of regret in life, and it's just a part of life. Don't let it hold you back. 2, get really good at apologizing and really good at telling other people that they're right, especially when you're in an argument, because it will really diffuse a fight. You can't fight with someone when the other person's just like, yeah, you're right. Like, there's no fight. There's no fight to be had. Like, they might keep being like, blah, blah, blah. People are like, oh, we ended up in a fight and it escalated. The reason it escalated is because neither person was willing to say, I'm sorry, or tell the other person that they're right. For whatever reasons. Ego reasons. I mean, we can get into that. Could be a whole other video. And number 3, beliefs. Don't just accept the things that you think are true. Question what you think is true, and download new beliefs that'll get you where you want to go.